Yo, peep this. You just clicked on Let's View It, and I'm the man of the channel, TYRONE Cross, and I love to react to videos. What can I say? If y'all rode with me before, then I'm glad you're back, and to all my new riders, I advise you buckle up, cause it's gonna be a wild ride. And after you get off this bus, if you enjoyed the ride, then you know I appreciate it if you subscribe, and if not, then I appreciate the view anyways. So on my channel, I bring the sarcasm and I bring the jokes, even to serious topics. And on today's video, I'm gonna be reacting to an ultra beauty video where they're interviewing Virgie Tovar about fatness. So you know this has gotta be entertaining. But as my disclaimer, let me say right off the top, I don't give a damn how fat you are. You could be as big as a blimp for all I care. You gotta live with that. Now that I covered my own ass, let's get on with the video. So you already know, let's view it.
Okay, I want to welcome our guest, Virgie Tovar, author, scholar, activist. Welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Of course. There's something that's very irreverent about just your general demeanor. And I wondered, was it always that way? And in your book, you have the right to remain fat.
I just want to say this real quick. That title of that book is so damn pointless.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that quote and what it means to you? My body used to belong to me, and how it led to you where you are now.
I think there's a universality to it, really. Like when we're children, we're all born with this incredible curiosity and self-acceptance. All the tools that we need as human beings, we have them when we're born. And then the culture kind of takes them almost. And like for me, fat phobia, which is a form of bigotry against higher weight people, is what took me out of my body. You know,
Hopefully she explains this later, but how is fat phobia bigotry towards fat bodies? Actually, what is fat phobia? Can someone tell me what the hell fat phobia is? Just saying I don't want to be fat, or I don't find fatter women more attractive than fit women, that can't be fat phobia, right?
once I learned fat phobia, I had a sense of this is my body and this is me. Like there was a separation. And when I was a kid, those two things weren't separate ever. They were one and the same. And I think the truth is like that was all of us on some level, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I understand what she's saying my body doesn't make who I am, meaning I'm still a good person even though I'm fat. So if that is what she's saying, no kid ever thought who they were was technically their physical appearance as their inner who they are. So what is she talking about? The self-esteem of you might change because you're in shape or you took care of yourself better. You're naturally going to feel better. That's just kind of what happens. Even if you're skinny and you still eat healthier, you're going to feel better.
Yeah. So, I mean, fat phobia is a form of bigotry, right? And a lot of people don't know that because we've been taught that our attitudes towards higher weight people are rightfully negative because of health reasons.
Right.
That's not true. Here's an example. Even if you do have a negative thought about a fat person, you either whisper it to the person next to you or you keep it to yourself. Why? Because you know it's not appropriate to just say something like that. It's rude. We know that.
Our notion of health is deeply flawed, problematic, and kind of living in the 1800s. Like the BMI was invented in the 1800s, okay?
By European men.
By like this Belgian mathematician. He wasn't even a physician. And
Well, the BMI is kind of full of it. It doesn't take everything in consideration. But it doesn't mean that you get to just have overlaying fat on you and say it's healthy. They take a small piece of truth and just try to stretch it as long as they can.
in fact, fat phobia is an actual legitimate form of discrimination. It aligns with other types of discrimination, like around race or gender or any number of marginalized identities.
So far, she says fat phobia is a form of discrimination. Is she ever going to tell us what the actions are of fat phobia that makes it discrimination? I can't wait to get there.
fat phobia manifests in a lot of different ways, like everything from a wage gap, like plus size women make $9,000 to $19,000 less per year than straight size women.
Now, just coming off the top of my head, I know nothing about these statistics, but if I was going to take the population of women that look like her and compare them to women that were fit, I would assume that one, obviously they're not as active. They probably don't work as much already. And then some of these larger women probably physically just can't work. But how is that discrimination? That's just the consequences of you destroying your own body.
Also well-documented medical discrimination and things like, things we all know, like how higher weight people are considered less appealing partners, less appealing dates. So there's all these different, obviously fashion, like there's all different ways that fat phobia manifests.
Bigotry in society has nothing to do with what a person is attracted to. That's inside them. It's different to every person. And just to prove it, there are people that have fetishes attracted to fat women. Would a skinny or fit woman then say that man's showing bigotry towards her? That he has skinny phobia? The fact of the matter is, on average, men don't find that more attractive. Some people don't find me attractive, I'm sure, somewhere. I mean, they're probably blind.
There's nothing wrong with being fat. This is totally a natural part of body diversity. Yes, fat people have thriving, wonderful, beautiful lives. Yes, fat people are desirable. And absolutely, fat people should be protected from things like medical discrimination and the wage gap. So like that's what those two things are. Like one is,
as far as medical, is she talking about paying like higher insurance costs or something? Because you can tell your odds are way higher than someone that takes care of themselves that you might have a heart attack. And there are no wage gaps. That's always a myth, whether you're a man or female or a fat female and a skinny female. Show me a fat lady that's getting paid less at McDonald's than a skinny lady with the same cashier job. It doesn't exist.
Our current cultural attitude is that the solution to fat phobia is for fat people to become thin people. And we were never, I'm not a thin person. There's not secretly a thin person inside of me. There's, you know what I mean? Like there's this prevailing myth. And this is so important, right? Even people who understand what fat phobia is.
So instead of her using willpower and eating less, exercising, not to be skinny, no one's saying nothing about being skinny, but she is beyond chubby. It takes a certain amount of effort to get that big. Trust me, she is enjoying her food. Fat activism is just working on somehow taking the blame off of them so they can feel better. And just say, forget it. I'm gonna keep enjoying my ice cream and my brownies at 9 o'clock at night and get up and go eat my Egg McMuffin at McDonald's with my high sugared orange juice and say it's just because this is the way God made me. Just about everyone in the world, if the goal was to be 200 plus 300 pounds, could make it. If that was the goal, you just got to eat more.
The culture is like, oh, solution to fat phobia, just try and force and bully every fat person to become a thin person. And fat activism says, no, you do not blame the individual who's experiencing discrimination for the discrimination. You end the discrimination.
Yeah.
Again, how are you discriminated against? She hasn't said anything except for wage gap and medical conditions.
As a cisgendered, queer, gay man, our whole identity revolves around like, let's be as fit as possible, thin as possible, be as desirable as possible. Fat phobia. We're looking at the system like you're talking about. We love seeing magazine covers of what you said,
He just said we all want to be as desired as possible and then followed up with fat phobia. Literally, fat activism is trying to force people to desire fat people. So in other words, stop caring if you're desired.
a fat celebrity, for lack of a better word, that now has lost 100 pounds. We love to see that.
Because it was an accomplishment and it's hard to do. We understand it takes hard work. We understand that it's hard willpower. So when someone does it, you congratulate them. Just like if someone tells you they quit smoking, don't you say congratulations, good job? Because you understand how hard it was for them. You don't tell them, why don't you just keep smoking and we'll just tell you that it's healthy.
That skinny person was always inside there. Now look at them, how happy they must be. So systemically, we still perpetuate this, the system of gyms.
Is he trying to claim that when someone loses weight, they're not happy for themselves, that they're faking it?
I know plenty of people that would, according to a BMI index or according to a doctor, oh, they're overweight, they're obese, but they're they can run a mile faster than I can, they or more flexible than I am. They're more healthy in the way that we consider health to be healthy.
He's talking about athleticism. That has nothing to do with healthy. These people try to sound so smart,
but are so slow.
I mean, I do get that athletes tend to be healthy as well, but you can be healthy and terribly slow and terribly weak and not very athletic and clumsy.
Really? What is your definition of health?
Yeah, that's really complicated, right? I think I want to talk about that question, but I want to start by saying that, no one has to be healthy. No,
You heard that right, folks.
right? Like, I mean, it's like, no, like there is no governing body that's like out there putting, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like no one owes anybody that in either the traditional sense of the word or any other more innovative or, more politicized, maybe even version of that word. So
You owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. Trust me, no one gives a shit that after this interview, if you go eat 3 large pieces to your dome, they only care that you're claiming that it's healthy.
I'm never going to be your notion of healthy. That doesn't mean I don't get to be a full human. You get to treat me some kind of way.
You notice when she gets to the points about how she's getting treated, she always trails off like, you can't treat me some kind of way. Because how do we treat her? We probably treat her fine. If we see her in the store and we're trying to get by, we're going to say, excuse me. The only thing that's bothering her is that when we look at her, we're not going to think she's a sexy supermodel. Or we might assume she doesn't go to the gym very often and eats a lot. You can't deal with that? Then go to the gym and stop eating so much, and then the sexy supermodel thing might come. That's not even guaranteed if you're skinny. You could be skinny and ugly too, so don't get it twisted.
I want to redefine the notion of health. In my mind, it's a very expansive notion that takes into account spiritual health, that takes into account, do you have community? Do you feel like, one of the things that fat phobia does, just like a lot of other marginalized, like phobias and like different kinds of discrimination, is it creates a sense that you don't belong in your own society.
Can she please explain how do they feel they don't belong in this society? We literally have fast food restaurants on every corner.
So if by our scientific notion of whatever health is right now, if that's excluding 68% of the population, which is like the plus size population, if that's excluding 70-ish% of the US population, then it's not working.
It's not working.
Notice she says the US population because we're the most obese country. When foreigners come over here, one of the first things they notice about us is that we eat a lot. Don't believe me? Ask one. And just for a side note, serving sizes here in fast food restaurants are bigger than they are in other countries.
It sort of started with a conversation I had with a friend I grew up with. And she said, do you remember when we were little and how you were always expected to play the boy whenever we were play acting?
Really?
Yeah. Whenever we were play acting like stories from the Babysitter's Club or from books that were...
Babysitter's Club.
Yes. Yeah. Heterosexual romances.
Yeah.
In which I am being expected to play the boy 100% of the time. And it's not even discussed. It's just like understood that as the largest bodied girl that I'm supposed to play the boy.
Well, if they're trying to make it make sense and it's all girls, then casting wise, that's genius.
And I was like, oh my God, I had completely suppressed or forgotten that memory. And then a bunch of stuff started to flood back.
You didn't suppress it. It just didn't matter to you. Now you want it to matter.
My whole life, it was like, you throw like a girl, you talk like a girl, you walk like a girl, you sit like a girl. I'm like,
but you do talk like a girl-ish. So what's wrong with that though? It's an observation, yo. And I know you guys hate this, but girls and boys are different.
What does that even mean, sit like a girl? And then what does that do? It has internalized misogyny. Well, I don't want to be that.
Yeah, because the most humiliating, quote unquote, thing you can be as a masculine person is a feminine person.
Yes.
Well, no shit. If you're a masculine person, you don't want to be a feminine person, but he's clearly a feminine person, so he should be fine if someone calls him a feminine person. Another
thing that I wasn't getting affirmation on was clothing. There was nothing ever for me in the girls section. So I'm like, if there's nothing for me in the section that has my title of my gender, then what is that? What gender am I? Then what am I? And then I think, especially around socialization, my peers were treating me more in line with kind of masculinity, both in the like romantic sense of like I always had to play the boy. I mean, like literally it was
Then you're like the buddy. You're like
Yes.
always the buddy. It's
Okay, so many, many moons ago, before a meteor hit the earth, there used to be a certain type of girl we called a tomboy. You act a little boyish, you tend to lean to boy things, clothes, sports, but you're still a girl.
I think that for me as a fat woman and a brown woman, that meant like almost like taking femininity to like 100,
High extreme.
like 11
Yeah.
all the time, like with my hair, my makeup, and I always had to wear a dress and my boobs were always out. And like, it was, you know what I mean? And like,
So, who was she telling all this to? And who was she taking her femininity to 11 for? Does she know she's allowed to accept that she's a feminine woman without all those extra steps?
you wouldn't necessarily think that gender would be a way that people deal with fat phobia, but it is, you know?
fully.
What I see is she's a person that has a problem with herself being fat. So instead of accepting the fact that she's insecure in herself, she's trying to make it seem like it's the outside with the problem, saying they have fat phobia. It's projection.
So when did you stop seeing the word fat as a bad word and take the power back into that?
It's the idea that to be fat is unspeakable. And that's what makes it so complicated. I love that you brought that up.
Actually, it's more unspeakable now because of what they're doing. Back in the days, it was just a description, an observation. Fat, skinny, pudgy, kind of fat, sort of skinny, tall, short. But now if you go, that fat lady.
You can't say that.
You even talk shit using both words. Move your fat ass out the way. Move your scrawny ass out the way.
But I think for me, it's been reclaiming that word has been a slow process. I remember a slow process. I remember even in high school.
Reclaiming the word fat? Is that like black people reclaiming the N-word? What's up, my fat girl? You my fat girl. Man, you my fat girl. I'm a real fat girl.
We would play a game where we would talk about anything that had gone wrong, and it would be oh, it's because I'm fat. And then we were kind of playing. You know what I mean? We were kind
I
of
do that
playing
too with gay.
with
I'm like, well, because I'm gay.
They're literally making it cause I'm black. How stupid are they?
It's
Totally.
when the fire alarm went off
Yeah.
because I'm fat.
Yeah, it's raining. Well, because you're gay. That's why. I get it. I totally get it.
I get it. You take your insecurities and you say it's the reason that all negative stuff happened in the world. Because that's how you feel about yourself. But trust and believe no one else gives a shit. To be honest, until you guys open your mouth, no one cares if you're fat or gay.
Fat activism at that time, in 2010, 2011. And I think that what was amazing about it was that it pulled from the tradition of not only the Black Power movement, but also gay liberation in the sense that it was no, I don't just want you to accept me. I want you to see me living my absolute best life. And
Please don't add blacks into this because we are not fat activists or that LGBTQ shit. We could give a damn if you see us live our best lives. We just want the same respect, period. This is not what they are asking for. She said it dead on. And I'm glad she finally said it. They want us to witness what they are doing. They want us to look at them and go, oh, how great. No one cares. We all have our own things to deal with, our own lives to live, our own bills to pay. You think I have time to sit back and watch you live your best life, whatever that is to you? I still might not agree your life is that good. Then what?
be coming hat in hand to a culture that hates me for being fat and asking to be seen as probably still subhuman or partially human or whatever, right? For me, reclaiming that word was really about taking the power back, right? Because I think to go back to the unspeakable.
I'm tired of her saying subhuman. If society thought fat people were below human, Why would we always suggest you eat better and exercise to take care of yourself? We wouldn't even care. We would just pass you more cake.
They get to throw down that word whenever they want to put me in my place. And when I start out the conversation with like, I'm fat, it's like, I'm like, I took that card off the table. You can't play that card. Yeah. And so the power dynamic between us has shifted.
Okay, I can't take any more. What is she talking about? I took the power from them, so now they can't play the fat card because I played it first? When were we going to play the fat card? If I was going to say no to taking you out because you're fat, I'm still going to say no. What fat card? When do we get to play a fat card? Can you please give me an example in life where you're trying to achieve something and someone else played the fat card on you and so you lost that opportunity? What are you talking about? You better not say you're trying to be a Victoria's Secret model either. Honestly, this damn Ultra Beauty video has like 12 more minutes on it, and I'm done with it because one, my video is getting too long, and that means more editing that I'm gonna have to do. And I think at this point, you guys get the gist. This is crazy. And really, if we just jumped up and said, damn, you big, fat, sexy bitch, they would be happy. Apparently the wage gap would go up and all that other shit. All this is classic passing the buck. It's not my fault type of stuff, which is fine. You know why? Because it's your life. If you want to make excuses to why you're overweight or anything else, you could be jobless or whatever the case, that's on you, not me. All people go through some sort of like weird looks. Possibly someone thinks you're ugly. For whatever reason, maybe they hate the way you dress. This is all regular human experiences. It's your job to be happy with who you are. Nobody else's. But like I said, be as fat as you want, eat all you want, do all the negative stuff you want. It might not even be a weight thing, but don't go looking to the outside to make yourself feel better about your own self-destructive choices. And don't get it twisted. I know there's different types of bodies, different chubbiness, but there are extremes and they're trying to defend the extremes. So anyways, that's the video. This world is crazy and I hope you enjoyed the craziness I just showed you. And I hope it entertained you, maybe gave you something to talk about at the dinner table. I don't know. But if it did do something positive for you at all today, then of course, I ask you to share it. Share it with the world. You know, it's Christmas, why not? But as you know, I also need you to hit that bell like the hunchback. Also click that hitchhiker button and sub ride with me. And I'll see you on the next trip. Day and night.
Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
All my life.
Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
Can't help
Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.
That's why
Keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.